Hi, everyone, and welcome to the London Community Week podcast, the official podcast of London Community Week, a global event all about building meaningful long term communities. I'm your host, Kate Bova. Whether you work at a startup, a nonprofit, or a global SaaS brand, if you believe that community is more than a buzzword and plays a real role in growth and connection, then this podcast is for you. Today, I'm excited to introduce you our guest, Paz Pisarski. Paz is the co-founder of the Community Collective, a global community for community builders that started as a meetup in Melbourne 2021. Today, it has grown to 12 and 8K plus audience and 700 plus members across 18 countries. She supported 20 plus businesses to design community strategies, including Canva, Google, Founders Factory Africa, and Airtree, as well as appeared on global stages in San Francisco, Sydney, and London. With 6 plus years experience in startups and community building, Paz has held community roles at Australian companies, including the Startup Network Community, Happy Spaces Co-working, Roommate Activator University Accelerator, and non-for-profit Sister Works. When not building community, you can find her living along the Surf Coast, Australia, where she plays classical guitar and composes relaxing music as Paz sounds. And this is her personal music brand. So, Paz, amazing background. Welcome to the show. It's an honor to have you here.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Kate. I'm so excited.
So let's start with your current focus. What kinds of companies or kinds of communities you are helping now and you are involved with?
Yes, so we basically are gearing up to run our next community cohort program, actually. And so, yeah, we've just been speaking to a lot of community builders recently from Australia and America most recently this week. And really the kind of focus that we've been looking at the community collective is understand how do we actually continue to support more companies, whether they're not-for-profits, accelerators, VCs, co-working spaces, to really think about community as a strategy. And so if they do have a current community, what are their current goals and how can we help them? We've just hit over 880 people on our cohort waitlist to hear about the next program. And we've just locked in some really exciting people to join for the next cohort in September. So we're really just focused on that at the moment.
Yeah, it's great to hear how you're shaping the field right now, because I know you have a lot of different projects here, and you've been in this industry for years. How did it actually start? How did your journey into community begin, and what kept you in it for so long time?
Yeah. I mean, if I'm taking the question literally, I mean, probably the first introduction to community was when I was like 4 years old and we joined a classical guitar school. My brother and I been playing classical guitar since we were young kids, and we had an ensemble group and all played concerts together and had like weekly catch-ups where we'd help you play instruments. And I was a part of the classical guitar. It's like the Suzuki method of learning an instrument, which is a Japanese style of basically learning music through notation and hearing. And yeah, we were part of that community for about 20 odd years. So that's like the first thing that I always think about, because that was a place where we could really just connect, even if we were in Italy or we were playing in the Sydney Opera House or, looking at like conferences, guitar conferences that we went to in Japan. We couldn't even speak the same language, but it didn't matter because you played the same music. So community transcends so many barriers because you have something that you are shared and passionate about. So that was probably my first introduction to community when I was 4. But really thinking about the professional landscape, I mean, I have definitely always been the kind of person at school and high school who wanted to organize like the annual gathering. I was like house captain and always put my hand up to like organize the sport gala and things like that. So I've definitely always naturally gravitated towards connecting people. But really the origin of the community collective was when we were in Melbourne during the pandemic. This thing called COVID. Don't know if you ever heard about it, but Melbourne was the second most lockdown city in the world. So just
Okay.
behind Buenos Aires in Argentina, we did hundreds of days of stage 4 lockdown, where you have like a 5K radius, curfew, can only go out for 1 hour a day, can't sit on
Yeah.
a park bench, like illegal to swim in the ocean, like just so many, I guess, constraints. And during that time, there I was working as a community manager for a university, and so many of the founders, because we supported student, staff and alumni to build a business and launch a startup during their studies, and so many of them were having challenges, right? I mean, so many people around the world were struggling, and a lot of people started leaning on the communities for that kind of support. And so me personally, as a community manager, I was like, this is really hard. Is anyone else struggling? And reached out to a bunch of people who were in the startup space in Melbourne, building accelerators and incubators and those types of startup communities. And we just bound together. And so we ran a meetup for 17 people that went viral. And we had hundreds of people sharing this Airtable registration link. And we ended up running meetups online for about 80 people a month. And after, we had about 600 people kind of wanting more support and emailing us and being like, do you have coaching and mentoring? And how do I deal with XYZ? I quit my job in 2022, and myself and two co-founders, Melia Rayner and Jala Alex, we registered the Community Collective as a company. They became two advisors, and we've been running it as a business ever since. So kind of accidental, very intentional, very strategic, but just, really struck a chord with a niche group in Melbourne that has transcended to about 18 countries now.
Wow, love that. Thank you for your passion and energy during all this story. It's so exciting, actually. And what motivates you now? What is the biggest motivation to continue building communities and to continue being in this sphere?
Yeah. I mean, building community is tough. It can be lonely, which is really paradoxical because, we actually serve so many people, usually like a face of a brand, but, you're not going to call your members and ask them about the challenges that you're
Yeah.
experiencing in your role. You need to have a place where you can be a member, not a manager. And so, especially, during that time in Australia, it was just so freaking hard. And, we shut down an entire co-working space of like 3 stories at the university, and the kind of challenges that people were having, just trying to navigate like the tech world and understand how to connect people online was so confusing. And today we have even new challenges. I mean, we just launched a white paper around mastering the art of AI with discourse. And we interviewed all these incredible voices in the community and AI space around what's happening with AI, like how does that impact community. And I think my biggest observation at the moment is, the times have changed and anyone can launch a business. Anyone can launch a network. Like if you are using AI, you can just create content, like it's mass production at scale, but building trust is the hottest commodity. And so in an age where anyone can create a website, anyone can launch a site community, anyone can just create content and have social media and reach out to you and message you and try and sell you something or encourage a particular outcome, people want to go to people they trust. And so building community is hard, and there's noise and there's a lot of competition, and it's a race to the bottom around who can win the fastest in some particular age, like industries of sales. And so when you're up against a lot of noise and a lot of decision fatigue and, overwhelm, and where is technology going these days? What is the role that we have with like our phones and laptops and computers and working from home? It can be really hard to build community. And so when the game is changing, we need to understand what's working, like how can we help people who are still in this industry. And even we have alumni who did our program in 2022, which feels like a different era. And so how do we serve them now? They're 3-5 years into their community building career. And so I think what keeps me motivated is that the game is always changing. The landscape is always changing. And so honestly, just being able to keep up with it all and continue serving people when it's challenging is totally worth it.
Yeah, it's amazing that you are so big game changer in this field. And thanks for calling that out, and thanks for sharing all of this thoughts about that. And of course, I know that you'll be speaking at London Community Week soon. And I want to ask you about your focus. What's the focus of your talk, and why does it matter now more than ever?
Yes, yes. So I am speaking about how to avoid being a red flag community builder. Now, if I just said that to you and you have like little alarm bells and you have like, am I a red flag community builder? It's really a talk to basically just highlight any kind of broken systems, some old mindsets, some bad habits that aren't serving us when we are building
Mhm.
communities in a professional sense for a business. And so, we talk about red flags. You might be in like a hiring process. It could be on a date, like in relationships, just in like general life. You're like picking a school for your kids. You're always going to be doing kind of some due diligence, and might be little red flags that you notice. You're like, oh, that doesn't sound too great. And sometimes you can like brush them under the rug. But
Mhm.
really, when we try and identify and define what is a red flag, it's a term that we use to actually indicate that there is a problem and there is like a little alarm bell, and that is a signal for usually a deeper challenge or just like a structural imbalance that is happening underneath. And so over, the years, I've definitely noticed some red flag thinking, some red flag processes that I have had, that other people have had, that other communities have had. And so what I would really love to, I guess, like get out of the talk is if
Mhm.
anyone can walk away with, I guess, a higher awareness of like, ooh, these are the kind of guardrails that I should be aware of. These are the kind of systems that are not going to serve me. If you are building a community that does not align with business goals, like huge red flags. So what are these systems, mindsets, and basically operations that aren't serving us that we need to be aware of to make sure that we're building something that isn't wasting people's time, that is not wasting money and energy and a company's resources, but actually building something that changes freaking lives. Because why else are we in this work if we're not here to serve humans? And so really, if I can point out some of those like blinkers and red flags and turn them into green flags, then that would be amazing.
Amazing. But that's going to resonate with a lot of people and with a lot of community managers and with a lot of consultants, I'm sure, and looking forward for it. Maybe you can, without spoilers, of course, without a lot of spoilers, but maybe you can share with us one or three main key takeaways that you hope attendees will remember after your session, because it's a big
Yes.
topic about trust.
Yes. I was writing out, every time I prepare for a talk, I chat with like the conference
Mhm.
organizers, so, like Francisco and Valentina around, like what kind of topics do you think would be relevant, would fit in the agenda? Like I've got these kind of ideas, and, this one really stood out, and I've really been writing and just journaling on so many red flags. And I honestly had to cut like half of them out. So a couple of the red flags that, that are really staying in were the most prominent ones that can really just derail all of your hard work. And so at the Community Collective, we have a framework called the SAFE. So
Mhm.
SAFE, SAFE. And it's basically the key to safety. It's like this, like a lockbox of everything of how do you keep your community safe? How do you keep your operations and mindsets and decisions safe? And so really one of the biggest key takeaways from the talk will be understanding the SAFE framework. It will be understanding the kind of top 6 red flags that we all need to be aware of. And also, I think the biggest takeaway is, you know, if someone listens to the talk and goes, oh, I'm in the clear, like I don't have those red flags, like I'm feeling really amazing, that is incredible validation. But also if that person walks away having awareness of what those red
Mhm.
flags are, and then if they meet someone else who's a community builder and they notice that red flag, we can all help each other in the industry and just go, hey, Kate, you know, I heard about this red flag. I don't 100% know if you're on that path. I just want to share the awareness with you. Maybe it would help you on your way. If that is a ripple effect from, after London, then that is just such a beautiful element where we can all help each other in this industry, because it's not just about, cool, I'm sweet, I'm doing it well. It's, what are you doing? Like, how can I help you? And
Yes.
what would you benefit from this knowledge as well?
Wow, it's super clear, and I think I didn't hear about this framework. Maybe it's your, as you mentioned, it's something internal, yeah, framework for community collective. I mean, safe framework. Ah,
Yes,
okay,
yes,
yeah,
yeah,
because I
yeah.
think I didn't hear about that, and so can't wait to hear more in person because it's
I
super
know.
relevant. It's super
I know.
relevant for a lot of community members. Yeah, so
I'm
thank
sitting
you.
here going like, oh, I just want to like walk you through the whole framework. I want to like tell you all the red flags, but I've got to
Yeah,
save
I
it.
think
I've got to save it.
it's a good topic. It's a good topic completely. Okay, okay. You also mentioned about aligning with business goals a bit. Maybe it will be something also in your topic in this framework with these red flags. But I just wanted to ask you more than the conference about aligning community and business goals. You are working a lot with different types of community, I know, and maybe you have some. I know it's hard to tell like favorite KPIs or something because, of course, it depends on the field, on goals, and so on. But how is better to measure success of community for businesses, for community managers when they are doing their job?
Yes, yes, such a great question. And last year we actually did an entire research piece around how to measure the ROI of community. And so we partnered with Discourse, who are also
Mhm.
sponsoring the London Community Week, who are an incredible
Yes.
online platform for communities. And basically, we spent a lot of time talking to different kind of community leaders in the industry going, okay, great, like how do you measure the ROI of community, and how do you actually think about like communicating the exact impact and the takeaways that perhaps the company is looking to achieve, perhaps the members are looking to achieve. And so really we went deep on this topic. And during our cohort programs, myself and Ben Davies, who is an advisor of the Community Collective, he also runs a community at NYOB and built some of the early stages of the Canva community, which was also a scale
Mhm.
up that started in Sydney, Australia, down under. But really, what we talk about at the Community Collective is the idea of the community compass. And so you're always going to need a signal that helps you find your way, especially when things get confusing or leadership wants to go here and your members want to
Mhm.
go here and you're pulled in all these different directions. The community compass kind of comes back to, look, if you're going to measure the ROI of community and actually communicate the value, what are the business objectives? What is the business trying to achieve in the next 12 months? For example, the business might want to achieve an annual recurring revenue of over $5 million. They might want to achieve 40% of sales come from referrals. They might want to improve their product UX. So these could be the goals of the company. And then you have to look at the goals of the members. Okay, well, who is in this community? Well, let's say this community are all product designers. Well, what do product designers want to achieve? Well, maybe they want to learn all the trends and insights in their industry so
Yeah.
they can get better at their own role. They want to learn all the new technology to design better products and understand how to actually pioneer in that space. And so then, you have two compasses who are pretty much going in very different directions. You have two groups of people that you need to serve. And so the community compass is obviously the intersection between those two areas in the middle. So what is the sweet spot in the middle where we can help product designers learn the key trends in the industry? We can help a company grow through word of mouth and referrals. Well, then that is what's going to be the highest ROI and the highest impact on both parties. And so if you can find that sweet spot in the middle, design a community, design events, design content all around XYZ, that is the intersection, that is going to be the most beneficial. And so whenever you're communicating the ROI, you're talking to someone, why would this company have a community? It sounds like a waste of time, like sounds like just like a lot of coffee and money. You're going to sit there and go, well, depending on who I'm speaking to, I'm going to communicate the impact that it has on the members. I'm going to communicate the impact that it has on the business if I'm speaking to the leadership team. So I think the biggest thing that I learned last year and talking to all these incredible people, they worked at all these kind of different industries, including people from Google and Canva and Square and the Auckland Council, was really understanding you need to know who is asking about how you're measuring the community and then tailor your answer based on what they care about and what is important to both sides on that community compass. Or
Wow.
we call
So
it like the community
mhm.
cookie as well, because there's like 2 cookies and you want to serve everyone, but whatever name kind of floats your boat.
Yes, yes, yes. So wise thoughts and advice, actually. And I'm wondering, I think you're the first speaker here who mentioned community canvas. And I'm really wondering, and about other frameworks, tools. Do you have actually your favorite frameworks, tools, or maybe methods you lean on in your community work?
Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest backbone, the main like literal tool and framework that has helped me the most, even in my journey, even when I worked at other companies and universities building community, or just the community collective and being a founder myself, has honestly been just having a community strategy and having a document that lives in our Google Drive. We open up a new Google Doc every 6 months and, basically duplicate our last strategy, and we sit down and we update it as a team. We then go out and ask our ambassadors, we go out and ask our advisors, what are we missing? What worked well in the last 6 months? What do we need to tweak, change, cut, and evolve? And really then thinking about, okay, how can we grow? Where are we not delivering? What needs to just absolutely get moved off our plate? And then what is not on there already? And so the tool and the framework of just having a strategy that you update on a regular basis, you co-create with all the voices that your community serves, and then obviously a team and the business and the advisors are involved on our front. And then we religiously update it. And so we take that strategy, we pull out 6 key metrics that are going to tell us if we're on track or off track from achieving that strategy, which ladders up to our 10-year vision. And we put it out in an Airtable data dashboard with all the metrics that we want to hit every month. And then we ladder that down to what are we doing every week. And then we have team whips every week, understanding where are we at with our metrics? How many people have we served through our cohorts? How many community strategies have we created for companies? What is the NPS and the overall experience of any offering that we're creating? So that keeps us accountable. And so, yes, whilst it's not a fancy tech tool or platform, it really is just coming back to writing down and declaring what you want to achieve with other people involved, and then holding all of you accountable to it.
Paz, is it possible to find this community strategy framework somewhere outside, or this is your, like, I don't know, special internal document only for the team?
I have published our strategy on our website, like a very revised version, like almost like a taster. So I'll share the link with you. And if anyone wants to read it and have a look at it, we share all of our
Wow, yeah.
metrics and goals and values in an open source strategy. It also keeps us accountable to our community. So we say, thanks for your feedback. This is our new strategy. This is where we're going. But our full community strategy and like the template in the Google Doc is something that we share only with our cohort members. So I've got to respect them and
Of
that
course.
resource, but I've got like a revised one online.
It's amazing. We can add it when we will be publishing the video on YouTube, so we can add the link. I think it's via Community Collective website. Yes.
Yes, I'll send you the link.
Perfect. Oh, thank you. Thank you for a small present for our editor's podcast.
No worries.
And I also want to ask you about your background, about your failures, and about some proudest moments, because everyone has failures, of course, mistakes, and it helps us to be better. But you remember one mistake or the biggest challenge maybe last year or last months that ended up and teaching you something valuable in your career? And
Yes, I have so many failures, so many mistakes I've made, and all of them have been such a beautiful way to just learn and go, oh, okay, maybe not that direction. Let's course correct and continue on with my newfound knowledge. And so probably the biggest one that comes to life was when I had quit my job in 2022, and we took a leap of faith and registered the Community Collective as a business, had no money, no revenue from the Community Collective, as it was a free meetup at the time. And so I gave myself about 3 months to interview, create a paid product that would then hopefully lead to financial sustainability so that we could reinvest that into the business and then grow a team and just continue serving people. And so I spent about 3 months just like contract work, interviewing like 300 community builders from our free meetup communities, going like, what would you want? Like, what are your challenges? What are your goals? I was like working jobs on the side. I was like also launching a new album for my music company and like just signed with a new label in Australia who wanted like 20 new songs in like 2 months. So it was like a really intense time. And like the biggest mistake I made was just like fully overcommitting myself. I didn't think I fully underestimated how much like time, energy it would take to like one, just launch a new company and build a new program. You know, obviously I knew it was a lot of work, which is why I quit my job and that was all I was doing. But I think also having like the music business running, I like had a full album launch, like sold out like 120 tickets, like was performing on weekends. Like it was so exhausting. So you know, I really just like reached like the end of my tank and didn't leave any energy for Paz at the end of a day. And so, you know, that 6 months was really pivotal to kind of get the community collective going. Like the album did really well. Like it was really successful, I guess, like from a material perspective and from an impact perspective. But at the end of the day, I was like exhausted. And so the biggest thing that I've taken away from there, you know, this isn't new knowledge, but it's a learning that has really helped me on the ways you just have to include your own energetics in your definition of success. Like my first definition of success in 2022 was to serve others. That's it. That was success. Like if others were winning, I was winning. But that definition was flawed because I didn't include my own energetic state. And so I evolved my definition of success to be serving others whilst feeling energetically fulfilled. And so to feel energetically fulfilled, I take 4 months off delivering on the community collective every year. There are 4 months of the year where I'm not on calls, running consulting, running programs, running events. Like I am like, there's nothing in my calendar.
You
4
said
months every year. 4 months every
Wow.
year of like no delivery. So there's nothing in my calendar. I'm not like the face of anything in that sense. And that gives me the breathing room and to work in these seasons. And so we run our program in May and September for 8 weeks at a time. And then we have a team of 4 who work when I am like on my off season in that sense. So obviously the business can run without me and I'm not a bottleneck. But that has been, you know, 3 years in the making and having like really clear boundaries of like, I don't have any meetings except on Tuesdays and Fridays. And all the other days are really added space to go have a sauna in the morning and do my kick workout and play guitar on the weekends and not have work, I think, like bleed and take over your life.
Paz, it for me also, like as a founder, it seems like something impossible. 4 months is break. It's something so impossible for me, special. It's for you. You are doing that because you have a good delivery from the team, or how you discipline everyone, or how you make this process. Because it's not so easy.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you know, if you told Paz
Please
3 years
explain.
ago in 2022, she'd be like, not possible, like at all. You know, it's taken a lot of work and it's taken a lot of intentional life design to understand, okay, like what is possible, because I think that life is so short and the traditional, I think, pathway of go to school, graduate, go to university, get a degree, work for 50 years of your life, retire, and then enjoy your life. Like, I mean, why can't we enjoy life now? And so how that actually works is at the start of every year, at the end of every year, so say in December, I look at the year ahead and I block out my calendar for all of January, June, July, and December. So I block my calendar in like the work and don't book anything in there. So I'm not like committed to hosting or running a full program through the Community Collective, it is a time where I can go and, speak in London. I can travel. I can come to
Yes.
Europe for 2 months and see my family. I'm recording an album next week in Oxford. So like there are these things that add to my life. And during that time, I'll check in with my team and go, great, you good? What do you need? How can I help? Do I have a code, a text confirmation that is not letting you access the website? Like obviously as a founder, you need to know that your business is always going to be a part of you. It's just like, that you have life admin and probably a personal email that you need to like reply to the gym and like pay some bills like that. That's kind of how a business fits into my life. And so knowing that, you're not always in the business, but you have time to have off. So I'll always make sure that there's a month where I'm not working. And then there's 3 months of no delivery where, there's time and space to think about like designing a next program and actually have elements of understanding, you just have so much space from day to day that you just start thinking of new ideas and you're like, oh, like, would I have thought about that if I wasn't out of like the normal day to day? And then obviously have an incredible team. Our community lead does an incredible job doing all the cohort interviews, meeting all of the people like through that whole time, which is just so beautiful, and having someone that you trust and is just such a star. I mean, Ines Schubert, just shout out to her. She's just such a gun and has been a phenomenal value add along with the entire team at the Community Collective, to give you an example.
Wow, I appreciate the candor, and it's a lot for me thinking about because you mentioned when you were talking about like challenge or mistake about your energy and about your that you were doing a lot of things and you forgot about your energy, about your resources. And I think it's so important for all community managers because we are doing a lot of things. We are working a lot with people and we are doing a lot of things with a big passion. But we need to remember that we need to do something, first of all, with us to being safe, to take care of ourselves. And so thank you for talking about that, because I think it's super relevant and important for all the guys who are just looking this video and for me personally. And I have a lot of questions, but I know that we have time, and so I just wanted to ask you about last one question about trends and about the future of community building. What are you thinking when you are thinking about the future, of community building, community marketing, community management? What is about for you? What we need to expect, and maybe which trends we need to follow?
Yeah, I think, I can't predict the future, so there will definitely be no answer that will be definitive. But I think what stands the test of time, if we're going to look at the future, let's look at the past and see what's worked. And that gives us a lot of confidence. And for me, everything comes down to systems and processes and operations, because I think the more we realize that there are so many incredible tools, technology, people that can help us build communities, run businesses, the faster that we're going to realize that it's not about us and that we don't have to have our finger in every single pie and be managing this community, because soon enough it might be managing us. Like we might be running businesses, but is this business running us to the ground? And so I think the biggest thing is thinking about longevity, sustainability. And so how might these communities run without us is a saying and a phrase that I've had in my head for years, not to write myself out of the Community Collective and be away. That is not the point. I'm here and I'm in this. But the point is that I'm not a bottleneck. Like my biggest fear is that I overcommit myself, and if, God forbid, I get sick or something and all these systems depend on me, then the whole thing stops. Like that's so fragile and that's so high risk. And so
Yes.
to really understand, if we're going to build communities that turn into movements and that take over and grow to anything that is so impactful, meets the business objectives, it serves the members, and it stands the test of time, we need to realize that systems and processes are the foundation of everything. And so I guess to give you an example is really to think about, okay, if you just have this motto, how can this community or business run without me? Not to write
Mhm.
yourself out of a job, but just to make sure that you are not the bottleneck to the success that you, your members, and the company deserve. And so really the key to that is people, processes, and a plan. You need to
Yeah.
make sure you have the right people in place. You don't have to be the one managing everything. You can be the puppeteer going, great, let's organize some leadership roles for members. We've got these incredible advisors. Okay, we've got an incredible team. How is delegation playing out? What are people going to own? What are their zone of genius? Let's make sure that they operate in that element, give them the opportunities to have a piece of the pie and run the community in that way. Then you think about processes. If you're going to have people, things get complicated really quickly. So the best thing that you can do is if you're ever delegating or handing over something, or you're helping an ambassador run an event, you're helping an incredible volunteer like run a podcast, like document the system and the process that you both agree on, that you go, amazing. This is the Community Collective way. Here's our stamp. We've documented. It's like a Google Doc. It's like 10 steps, how-to guide. It's not like a 5,000-word essay. Honestly, with the rate of AI, you can just record a video of how you would do it. It would transcribe it for you. And then you just are building this playbook of how your community runs, how your business runs. And then the more people you bring on, it actually scales the impact because you all are repeating the same process. It's not more people, more work, more training calls. At the Community Collective, we never jump on a live training call. We document a process. We send a video and a how-to guide async in Slack. And we go, hey, this is how I would run cohort interviews. And then that person can absorb the learning. We all have different learning styles, can read this document, watch the video, hear it, interpret it, journal it, reflect on it. And then when we have our weekly one-on-ones, or we voice note in Slack back and forth with any questions, like cover any ground. And then you just learn by doing, and you got to trust people. So I'm like really obsessed with like systems and processes and details and being organized and having documentation, because it means no one can be a bottleneck in your community. And there's just so much more that you can achieve that you just didn't even know that you could set out to do.
Wow, I so love that, Paz. Thank you very much for your thoughts, for your energy, for your passion, and just for sharing all of these thoughts. Because during our podcast, I just was listening, and inside just said, yes, yes, yes. Just agree. It's so valuable. It's so important. So, Paz, thank you very much. I see you in London offline in 1 week, and thank you for this amazing conversation. And wish you a good day.
Oh my God, thank you so much. It's been such a joy. And I can't wait to be an Australian in London and hanging out with all of the most beautiful people. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.